Welcome to another edition of Crossing the Middle Ministry. I was talking to a friend at my work last night, and she was telling me about a lot of things going wrong in her life. And I said to her, sometimes you got to wonder, you have to look up to heaven and say, God, what are you doing? You got to, because you just don't understand the things that's going on. And I know that God has everything well under control. And the problem is the lack of understanding. I talked to an atheist last night. Again, I seem to be running into a lot of those. And the problem is that they don't want to understand. They want to look to the natural things of the world. But the Bible tells us in the book of Proverbs, lean not to your own understanding. So you're never going to find God looking to your own understanding. If you got to have godly understanding to see and to know, and you have to just feel in the Spirit and look for God's understanding, God's ways of doing things. God will never make sense to the natural mind of man. No atheist ever walking the earth is going to find God by looking in the earth. It's just not going to happen. So I wanted to read a place here where this kind of understanding comes from. 1 Kings chapter 3. Solomon asked God for understanding. That's what the heading says here, okay? And you go on down to about verse 3. It says, Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burnt incense in high places. That means that he was not doing that toward God, but toward earthly ritual things. False gods. Okay? And you'll find out Solomon had a problem with this later on. If you keep reading about King Solomon, you find out that he had a problem with this in this area because of the women that were involved in those areas. Solomon was like, well, if you want a good-looking woman, you got to go meet her at the bar. In that day, that's what you did. Okay, and of course he had a problem in that area. Things that Solomon needed to overcome before he could understand things of God. It says, and the king, verse 4, went to to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings did Solomon offer upon that altar. Verse 5, in Gibeon the Lord appeared unto Solomon in a dream by night, and God asked, what shall I give thee? And I want you to know that God don't just do that for any old body, but somebody like a king. God uses key figures to get his stuff done. If you're a key figure for the good, God's going to throw some good things on you. If you're a key figure for the bad, and you're influencing a lot of God's people for the bad, boy, you can, let me tell you something now. You better watch out, because God has some bad stuff coming your way to turn you around and to get you out of that. Okay, so anyways, God appeared to him, and Solomon said, thou hast showed unto thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth, and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit in his throne, on his throne, as it is this day. Excuse me. And now, O Lord, my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father, and I am but a little child. I know not how to go or to go out or to come in. And thy servant is in the midst of the people which thou has chosen a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? And the speech pleased the Lord, that Solomon had asked this thing. Okay, a couple things there I want you to see. Understanding. You got to do it in a way that pleases God, you know, and do it in a way of compassion. And you have to lead out of something that is you. You can't find an entity inside of you that's not there. You know what I'm saying? There's an evidence that God's hand was there, but there is none of God in you before you commit your heart to Him. Then of course God moves in and everything changes. And I just, I have a time trying to understand that type of situation where men are so profoundly leaning on their own understanding that they totally ignore everything God. I've often said that if God was sitting on Main Street in Manhattan, that the media would rush down there and drive around God, totally ignoring everything that He is, so that they could get to the wreck on the other side. They don't want to know, they don't want to see, and they have no desire, just have no desire to understand those things of God. Solomon had a great desire to understand the things of God. And we as a people, if we desire to understand these great things of God, the Lord will help us out. He'll be there for us. Promise in His Word is that He would reveal Himself to us, and the Lord is busy doing that to everyone that wants to see and wants to understand. Okay. Alrighty. God bless you. Thank you for joining me again today, and we'll see you again tomorrow with another great subject on Crossing the Middle Ministry. God bless.